let us say by miracle you got into quick commerce. What next? What are the things you should take care of?
The only thing that really matters is your availability. But everything that happens is within these three fundamentals. Honestly, every day I wake up, I log in, and that's the first thing that I check. Set a benchmark, understand your inventory turnover. Quick commerce kind of started in China. Went to China to understand what the patterns are.
For today's town hall, we have with us Shaantnu Anand, who has been in the e-commerce for the last 7 to 8 years in categories like apparel, jewelry, toys and games, and much more. He is currently the Associate Director of E-commerce at YogaBar. Before this, he was the AVP of E-commerce at Damensch and the Associate Director of Growth at Produce. He specializes in marketplace and multi-channel commerce and has scaled D2C brands from 0 to 100 crore in revenue. So, let's get started then. So for any new D2C brand,
Right.
when you are saying omni-channel, there is online, there is offline, etc. How do you pick your first channel?
Yeah, I think the reason why this space kind of came in is because it's the least investment required, right, to start up a store. And with so many tools around, like for example, Shopify is one of the largest tools that is there that enables people to just set up their store. And you can actually start drop shipping. Again, is a big industry. So one of the reasons that it came up was because it's very low investment and anybody can start if you have like a good product. But to circle back to omni-channel, I think to start off, it is very important to start just online because that's where you get a lot of deep customer insights. That's how you're closer to your customer. So once you start shipping out a couple of orders, you call people, you understand what they like about your product, what they don't like about your product, and then see where do these customers exist, right? So before you begin, you would have like a hypothesis of where your target audience is, who are these people, where are they browsing, where are they searching, or where do they buy. But once you actually ship out products to them, you will probably realize that what your assumption could be very, very different from what actually the market is. And that's what will tell you where you need to go next. But having said that, in this very competitive ecosystem that has kind of built out over the last 4-5 years, it's very important to be present everywhere, because if you're not present on a place like Amazon or not present on a big market or in quick commerce or anywhere where your customer is, then you're losing out on a big chunk. So I would still say, like, start online, start slow, start low, but then understand your customer and then penetrate and then figure out what that channel is where your customer is and then go there.
Got it. So coming to Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So if you're targeting a marketplace and you're trying to get your product there, right?
Yeah.
Now there is a chicken and egg problem that comes in.
Right.
Do I focus on distribution first or should I build a brand first? So
Right.
what is the approach the D2C brand should take?
Yeah, I don't think it's a chicken and egg problem. I think what I have seen over a period of time is that you have to do a bit of both.
Okay.
There are, although, a lot of case studies of people who have just built brands on Amazon, but that would be very, very product led, where it's largely what I've seen is those are products which are generally very low ASP, very quick and very impulse purchases. But if you're building out a brand with a product that is very innovative and you're trying to do something very different, which is what typically D2C tries to do, it's very important to do a lot of branding and build a very solid, loyal audience off of Amazon. But also, and that will kind of bring in, that is what will bring in organic traffic and quality traffic for you on a place like Amazon. So you need to list there. There's already a lot of traffic on Amazon. People will search for your products, but if you double it down with real good efforts on your branding, etc., on your D2C, you will see that goodness happening on a marketplace like Amazon as well.
Yeah, and curiously, I think YogaBar is one of those very different brands who started offline first and then came online.
Yeah, so I was talking to somebody else also the other day. I was saying that YogaBar is probably not the right example because it's actually the very inverse of what you see and the very inverse of what I said, because food as a business, this YogaBar was started like 10 years ago. At that point, D2C wasn't as big as it is right now, so the penetration wasn't so much. And food, there was still that mentality of seeing what you're buying or being there in a store to actually see what you're going to buy or what you're going to put in your body. It's very high. That way, you're investing a lot into that with anything that you put in your body, right? So you need to know what happens, and that's why they started offline. But COVID is when a lot of things changed. Two things changed. One is obviously offline was shut, so they had to figure out something for the business, right? And second thing is people became a lot more health conscious. That's where brands who were doing clean food or natural food food with that does not have any processing that it goes through do well, and that's where that jump kind of came in online. And so it was just about the right time to go online, and they saw the benefits of that.
Got it. So I think we'll little bit double down on Amazon and Flipkart, because you said that's a first touch point for a D2C brand.
Correct.
What are the high converting elements you see for a product listing? Like if you're listing a product on Amazon or Flipkart, right? What are some things that you need to have?
Yeah. So two, three things that I'll largely talk about. One is again the point of knowing your customer really, really well. So irrespective of what platform it is and what the platform has to offer, you need to be creating a listing that is really talking to your consumer. And the way to do that is if you have your website, you know your customer, you know your details. Very important to know that. I think Growth School also talks a lot about ideal customer profile and all of those things. So that part you have to have it figured out before you do Amazon. But then Amazon as a platform will give you everything. There's a lot of literature around what you can list, what you can do on your listing, what you can't do. So you can't deviate a lot from that. Although one of the things that we did at Damensch was always trying to look, when you search something on Amazon, all the listings look the same, right? So the way to differentiate is be very, very creative led. What is something that you can do really differently so that you stand out in the crowd. And yet you don't kind of tamper with the terms that Amazon sets out, right? And then you also look at what kind of channel it is. So for Flipkart, the listing could be very, very different. It could be led from the creative itself has to be very different because it is largely an audience which is tier 2, tier 3. So they're looking at much more value out of the product. So how do you communicate that in your image? How do you communicate that in your title, in your content is very, very important. Again, the root of all this is knowing the customer, and the second thing is knowing the channel. Who are the channels, customers, where are they coming from?
Got it. And can you elaborate a little bit on the creative-led aspect you are saying, right? I think what you're trying to aim at is how you are showcasing your product.
Correct. So a good example of that is So if you search for a T-shirt on Amazon, you would see the same kind of model in the same kind of shot, like looking towards the right with the T-shirt kind of showing in the image and the color really, really visible. But we at Damensch kind of wanted to change that. There is a guideline on what you have to do. You have to have a model looking a certain way. But the T-shirt, the way it is held, let's say somebody is wearing a T-shirt and it's like I'm wearing a T-shirt like this, right? But what Damensch did is they figured out something where the guy is just holding the T-shirt like this. So that kind of broke the clutter. So we saw like really good CTRs on that. And in food also at YogaBar we do something. So the really bright poppy colors is something that you don't see in food that often. You are typically used to Kellogg's cornflakes, which is yellow, right? That's what your recall is typically. But the kind of colors that YogaBar uses in its listing is very, very bold, very, very poppy. So then it automatically stands out. And that's how you are able to create break that clutter in that whole space. So that's what I was talking about.
Nice. Then how do you do the relationship management in these marketplaces? Because when you list a product, I think your smile is kind of saying it all. Yeah. When you list the product, you have the category managers of Flipkart with whom you have to work with, right? Yeah. How has your experience been? What are some do's and don'ts in that section?
I think the first thing is everybody should read that book which says, how to win friends and influence people. Okay. So that is one tip that I have for everybody. But yeah, on a serious note, I think when you're starting out, it's very difficult to reach out to these people. I remember at Damensch, I just took a LinkedIn Premium and found who these people are and just like message them continuously, like 5 messages with just that this is the portfolio, this is what we are doing, this is how we are different from anybody in the industry. This is what is clutter breaking. This is what can be good for you. I see like gaps on Amazon on this category, so why don't you help us out? So that's how you can get in. Once you're listed, Amazon, etc. will reach out to you if you start building in some traction. What you have to typically understand is the category manager or the account manager that you're working with, what are their KPIs, right? And Arindam from Atomberg talks a lot about this. I read recently also he'd spoken about this, and it's very, very correct. You need to find out what their KPIs are, be invested in that. See how as a brand you can help them out. And that's where they will also come and say, okay, these are the things that you want to do. And one of the advice that I can give you is when you're starting out, when you're small for them, you will not occupy a lot of share of mind for account managers or category managers, right? But if they come and tell you, this is something that the category is trying to do and we want to have brands in it, do participate. Do participate in events that run side by it. Even if it costs a little money in the beginning, do participate. That will help you build a very strong relationship, and that will, you know, come in handy when you need them to do something.
Got it. I think knowing what you know right now with your experience in Damensch and a lot of e-commerce categories, toys, etc., right?
Yeah.
Say, I'll give you 3 categories. One is toys, one is apparel, and other is food.
Okay.
If you were to start on day 0, which channel would you pick and how would you go about it?
Okay, interesting question. So I'll answer it not very straightforward, but I'll take a different route to it. There's something, so product channel fit is something you need to figure out. So for any category, you need to figure out who is the biggest player, where do people shop. Apparel is very clear, Myntra is the winner when it comes to apparel. I don't want to be going all out on Amazon because that's not where the audience is, right? For food, it's very different. Amazon has a very large share. Flipkart grocery has a very large share. Quick commerce now has a big pie, so I'll go that way. And for toys and games, again, Amazon would be probably my first bet, because that's where a lot of the audience is. So I'll try and see again where the users are, go that way, then see where there are white spaces that I can that I can get into, that I can use that as an opportunity. So do that study very well on what these websites have to offer, what are the kind of products that are there. Just spend a lot of time on each of these marketplaces, spend a lot of time on D2C websites in these categories, see what are the different things that they are doing, and pick up the good things that they're doing. Read reviews very, very thoroughly. That's one exercise that I used to do. Well, I still do when I'm scrolling through it. I read a lot of competitor reviews, even non-competing reviews, right? And then figure out that product channel fit for you. So that's the route you should typically take. However, across categories, the fundamentals of e-commerce remain the same. That's what I've seen. There are nuances which would be very, very different. For example, the cost of doing business for any category on the same marketplace could be very different. But the fundamentals of running an e-commerce business remain the same. So whatever innovation that you need to do are within that.
Got it. I think some good takeaways from the conversation is one thing, thumb-stopping CTRs of, play within the rules but slightly change the game. I think is a great takeaway. And reading customer competitor reviews to kind of mine what is happening, that's good. Right. Any other nuances on, marketplaces that you could share with the audience?
So now there are a lot of AI tools that will help you to do, read reviews and analyze. So you can actually do, if you do a little bit of prompt engineering, you can write the right prompt and get the real depth of the review. Like I've tried to identify what people are searching for when they're buying a particular product from the reviews. Because the way people write it, they would have said, I wanted this, but I didn't get it. So those kind of insights don't come out when you're just reading it. You would need probably AI to help you with that. So that's something that's new and that's happening right now, right? And a lot of the listings that you would see, and this happens not a lot in India, but in the US, now Amazon is experimenting with contextual listings. So they know you as a customer. My list, what I'm seeing could be very, very different from what anybody else is seeing, right? It's really contextual, and you as a seller can configure that, and I'm sure that will come to India very, very soon. So these are kind of some of the new things that are happening, and AI is driving a lot of that.
Got it. When you have a Prime Day sale, and people are checking out your brand, then they come to your website. You'll obviously have a website uplift during that point in time. So what are some, just elaborating on that point, what are some changes you should do to your website, especially on the products you're running the offer on Prime Day?
Right. So I would say you don't have to do a lot of changes, but do have like a page on your website where you are putting out all your discounted products. So even if a customer is searching for you, have like a special price section, or have like a deep discount section or something where you can land people directly there. Or even if they're searching for you, put it in your menu so that people can go there. And because at that time everybody is looking for deep discounting, everybody is coming with an intent for deals. So if they don't see that, then you will lose out. So that's one of the ways that we used to tackle it and kind of do it. But one other interesting thing that we used to do is have your largest sale of the year, time it in such a way that it does not kind of compete with these sales, right? Do it before that, way before that, so that and build a property for your own D2C, like a Big Billion Day, etc. People resonate with that idea quite a bit. So at Damensch, we used to do like an October anniversary. That's when October 2018 was when it was set up. So every October we used to kind of pass on offers. So that became like a good property that people used to recall Damensch with. initially you'll have to do a lot of content-led awareness. That's where I would play. So I would write a lot of blogs. I would do a lot of PR maybe, awareness around, and you can do this in a low budget. There are ways to do it. There are bloggers who you can reach out to, ask them to, use the product right for you, do that, drive that traffic to your website, have your website also very, very awareness led, in the sense build a lot of videos around how you can use this product, how is it more beneficial than a chemical cleaner, right? You said that it lasts for 5 days, it cleans even after that. So that's like a very good value to have. And so it has to be a very, very content-led strategy, because it involves educating the customer. So anywhere that you have to have education, you have to educate the customer, it has to be a lot more content-led commerce is what I feel. And to answer your second question, I think you can still split your money between being present on a marketplace and doing a lot of D2C. So drive this customer awareness through your D2C efforts. Maybe try driving those content campaigns to your Amazon listings once in a while, so that people who are educated can then they also know that it's available on Amazon. Maybe they'll be able to deliver quickly or deliver to locations that you can't currently do because of your scale, etc. Right? So play that very, very content-led game on your Amazon store also, on your Amazon listing, or on wherever you're listed. Make sure that USP really comes out right from the first image to the last image, to the video that you're putting on. And you should definitely do UGC videos also. When people purchase your product on Amazon, if they really like it, they'll start leaving like really good reviews. Use that in your ads that you're doing, right? Like Amazon reviews, X number of people have rated us so well, and that's what they're writing about. So I think that's the way to kind of go about it. Instagram is one place that you can do a lot of research, right? Identify keywords, just search Meta, open your thread. You will find like tons of people doing a lot of UGC around this, right? One thing that happens a lot is the trends that are there in China typically will come into India or in other markets, right? So see what's happening there. For example, live commerce started in China first, and then it's come here. Quick commerce kind of started in China first. They started delivering food, snacks, etc. in 10 minutes, and that's kind of come here. So that is the trend that typically happens. And this I did at my, the cross-border startup that I was working on. Went to China to understand what the patterns are. And if you look, there's a brand called Temu, which now does like almost as at par, like 30 billion in like very quick time in the US, right? And now they're doing really, really well. So that's all fashion, very, very fast fashion trends. How did they pick that up? They picked it up, right? Just like this, looked at what are the trends that are there on Meta, what are the kind of apparel that's trending. To translate that into an offline space, that's what Zudio is doing. They're playing that game of very fast fashion. Like you check what is the season, what is the trend this season, what is the color of the year. Apparel has all of that. So pick up on that, pick up on those trends, see that. Read a lot on Reddit. Surprisingly, Reddit has a lot of threads where people talk, just put their, like pour their heart out on things like this. So I used to spend a lot of time, reading a lot of subreddits on what people are, and people post a lot of pictures there. You can see what are the trends like. Use that and just visit, just to do your research part of it, visit all apparel stores that are there in your vicinity, right? And there'll be tons. And I'm not just talking about ones that are branded. Go to the ones that are unbranded. Go to the ones that sell export surplus. You'll find like so many different designs there. And that's where something that you should pick up and start talking to people who purchase a lot online. Start talking to people who purchase from these shops that I'm talking about. Talk to the store owners. You'll get a lot of insights from there. And that's how you can pick up what are the latest trends.
So right now we have discussed a lot about pricing and promotion, and I think this is a very important topic on which we spend a lot of time even in our D2C program. So moving on, we will go into the next interesting segment, which is the inventory management. So when we talk about inventory management, the term that first thing comes to our mind is delivery times. Right? Now what is the ideal delivery time? Too fast, too slow? How do we tackle this?
It's easier if you're on a place like Amazon. Amazon has its own guidelines. They would want everything to be 1 day, 2 day, prime, be as close to the customer as possible. They have fulfillment modes that they have a lot of fulfillment modes. You need to be part of that, only if you're a part of that. So that is one of the biggest levers that you have on a place like Amazon to be able to deliver really, really quickly. So make sure that understand where your demand is coming from. Amazon gives you that data. See which are the geographies where you're getting maximum demand from. Make sure you place your inventory over there so that you're delivering in 1 or 2 days. And Amazon gives you that as it's a metric that you can track very closely. Honestly, every day I wake up, I log in, and that's the first thing that I check after looking at my North Star, which is my revenue. But I look at where my inventory is. Am I out of stock somewhere? Is my regional in-stock levels really good? And how do I optimize to get it, even faster? On the D2C side of things, D2C generally has a 2 to 4 day standard delivery timeline across the country. Obviously, D2C is not able to service as many pin codes as Amazon does. That's why the reach is also limited. But now there are like so many enablers like ShipRocket, etc. will just tag you to the best partner who's able to deliver to you at in the fastest time. So I don't think it's such a complex problem. But once you scale, it's very important. Once you have like a very stable customer base, you will know exactly if you're a Bangalore-based brand and you're getting a lot of orders from New Delhi, then you need to have your warehouse over there, so you're faster. So there's maybe underutilized potential lying somewhere, right? If you're getting orders from tier 2 cities and you're able to deliver to them quickly, then that's a lever that you can explore. But I think to start out, you should only focus on adhering to the timeline that you're setting. So if you're saying 4 days, make sure 95% orders are being delivered within that time. On marketplaces, make sure that your inventory is placed with them so that they give you the benefit of 1-2 day deliveries, and your conversions are really good because of that.
Got it. And when I go more on the category, right? Inventory management becomes tricky because for apparel, there is a way to manage inventory. Food, there is a very different way, and especially, I was reading a lot of case studies on meat and that segment. Their inventory is the trickiest to manage. Correct. Right? So any learnings from your journey across that you can share?
Yeah, I think the fundamentals still, all of it remains the same, right? It is about maintaining your inventory health. That's what we used to track. Inventory health in apparel is a very different metric from in food, because food has a complication of shelf life. You can't store everything for a longer period of time. Apparel does not have a problem with shelf life, but it has a problem of 5 sizes in one option and multiple options of the same product. So the way to do that is set a benchmark, understand your inventory turnover. So if you have 500 units at the beginning of the month and you invert, let's say, another 100 units, what is it that you close the month with? So minus your CS on that, that will give you the average inventory at any point of time for a month. So understand how quickly are you able to move out your existing stock. So if 500 units at the end of the month, let's say 45 days is what it takes you to churn that, right? So that is the number that you need to really look at and put all of your efforts in making sure that every SKU that you have is within that 45-day guardrail. If you overstock, you end up with a risk of working capital, right? And if you understock, you lose opportunity. So figure out what that number is, plug in all of these complications into that. For example, it is okay in apparel to not have a XXL size because that's only 5% of the market, but it is not okay to not have a medium or a large, right? So you will only lose 5% if that's the call that you have to make. Obviously, you need to have stock in everything, but if that's the call you need to make, you only understand from your inventory health, right? If you're struggling to do that for all the sizes, make sure that your MNL is there. So your 80% business is still going to come. And in food, very important to have track shelf life really well. Look at that every day. Run liquidation on wherever you think it's a risk for you. Make sure you give it out or you discount it, and reach an arrangement or a collab with X brands to kind of move out inventory faster, and take all of those actions from this inventory health number that you arrive at. So a lot of things that at Damensch or at YogaBar also we do is track the shelf life very closely, track that inventory turnover number very closely, and take actions well before that so that we are not risking anything.
So the main takeaway is like you have to define an inventory health for your category.
Correct.
And basis that you have to make regular adjustments.
And it could be within categories also, it could be different, right? For example, innerwear versus like in loungewear, innerwear versus t-shirt, that number could be very different. Because the innerwear people need it in 1 day, so I need to stock up very quickly. T-shirt people are okay waiting for 2-3 days for it to arrive. So that number for my movement on my innerwear was much faster than it was for my t-shirts or my shorts, right? So that number was very different. And within that also there are complications of a particular color having a very different number. So a black will move out like the fastest, but like a unique color like a burgundy or something would not be move out that fast. So that number, we got to a level where we were doing it at like a bottommost level, inventory turnover kind of number.
So basically you were at that level of precision that you know that if I have these many units, these units will move by this time.
Yeah, and when do I have to get my next units? When do I have to ship this out? And when will I run a risk?
Got it.
Yeah.
I think we'll slightly move towards advertising because a lot of people in the audience are bootstrapped, right?
Okay.
So how should a bootstrapped D2C person look at advertising? What are your top of the thought learnings or advice, or some advice you can give the folks over here?
Right. I think there are 3 things that you need to be very, very careful about. One is if you don't have an understanding of who your TG is, and which you won't have when you're starting out, obviously, you need to go wide. So you need to spend and keep that based on what budgets you have. Keep an X% for a very broad targeting. Right? Go after people, just get them to your website, see what is happening. Track the engagements, make sure you're tracking that, and then build that customer base, keep it with you so that you can target them again in the future. Have another X% or Y% of the budget to what you feel your target audience could be and where they are, right? So you would obviously build an assumption when you're starting out with a product and say, okay, this is where it could be a demographic of 25 to 40 living in cities XYZ, earning above this much, and you put some budget over there and be more focused. Don't go very broad. Go niche keywords, go niche placements. Don't take like top of search or all of that for those, because this is the audience that you're betting on, right? And use this budget to kind of get them in, and then learn from that, and then reuse. So and the third thing is place a budget on tier 2, tier 3 cities. I feel very important. A lot of people kind of ignore that. They feel, okay, it's a product that's very high ASP, very high AOV, or a very innovative product. Maybe people are not aware in tier 2, tier 3, but you'll be surprised to see that they're far more aspirational than people who are living in tier 1 cities are, because they don't have access to things very easily, right? So they end up purchasing a lot on D2C, and it's actually, we're led to believe that doesn't happen, but it happens a lot, and I've seen it happening quite a bit. So park your budgets in these 3 areas and start small. Keep learning, keep optimizing your campaigns. Ad library, etc. will give you an idea of what others are doing, right? And so that now it's all open, so you can learn from what are the kind of ads that an X brand that is competing against you is doing, and then tailor make your campaigns accordingly.
Got it. And especially like taking an example of YogaBar itself, the pricing of YogaBar is slightly higher compared to the rest of the competition, right? And I think there's a problem that any new entrant would face, where you are going premium, so you have to price a little higher.
Yeah.
So, but in that premium pricing, how do you convince your customer?
Right.
So how would your advertising strategy align with these kind of needs?
Yeah, again, so the kind of creatives that you would put on your ads would be very different from somebody who's selling a cheap product or an affordable product, right? Affordable product, if you have an affordable product, you can easily call out X value for this product, right? And that's what will drive business for you. But if you have a product that is more premium than anything that's existing in the market, you have to call out why it is more premium, right? So you still call out at this is the X value, but this is what you're getting for X value. So in a product that has more premium values, you know why it's premium, right? YogaBar, for example, is clean, is healthy, nothing processed. So call that out in your campaigns, and that's the way to kind of generate awareness, interest, and then people will consider it because of that.
And in apparel, how would you do it? Because Damensch has a little premium, right? So in apparel, how would you tackle that?
Apparel is very, very aspirational in that premium segment. So your creatives have to be out of the world. So if you look at what Jockey does or what any big brand does, they would be that idea. And Damensch is a classic example of that. That idea of a macho man with an underwear was what everybody was, kind of led to believe. But they kind of changed it, and that's what really worked for them. It was very different. The campaigns were very different. Not talking about the model so much, not talking about what, if you're wearing underwear, what the man can do. It was always talking about what the product can do, and betting so much on the quality that they were offering returns on it, right? So that's what I was talking about. You bet on your USPs rather than on the price or on the category.
Got it. And how can brands leverage other channels like influencer marketing or affiliate marketing? What has been your learnings in your stint in e-commerce?
I think now it's grown to a very very large scale, influencer and affiliate especially. A lot of affiliate websites are there in the industry where people just go to hunt for deals, and brands can leverage that if you have the capacity to do that. As a small brand, also you should figure out, like I was saying, you can ask people to write blogs for you. You can also list on these affiliate websites to get a lot of relevant traffic to you. But you need to figure out if that audience is the same as the audience that's going to purchase a product from you, and then do that collaboration. Influencers, it's a bit of a tricky game because now, like I said, it's become such a large scale that it's not that frugal anymore. It's a costly affair to engage with an influencer, get traffic to your platform, etc. So you need to be very very wary about that. At a certain scale, yes, you should also be very picky on that. See who the followers of this particular influencer that you want working with are. How does it resonate with your brand? How does it resonate with your product? And ensure that fit is there so that you can leverage that that collaboration.
Got it. So just to add on to that, right? Say for the brands that you were working with, how did you choose the influencers, and what was your process to kind of say that okay, maybe I should do with this influencer, or maybe I should not do with this influencer?
So at Damensch talks a lot about sustainable fashion. So anybody who talks about sustainability, environment friendly, apparel and lifestyle, and so you pick somebody like that. In food, you pick somebody who's going to the gym very frequently, who has a lot of followers in the fitness segment, who has a lot of followers in the eat healthy kind of segment. So that's how you figure out the similarities in the audience cohorts that are engaging with your brand on your social versus this influencer on their social, and see what kind of an overlap is there. If there's a 60-70% overlap, you can do it. Maybe ideally it should be about 70-80% overlap, so that you get a lot of quality traffic, quality audience when you're doing this collaboration. And anything below that, it will just be a lot of traffic, but not that relevant.
Got it. Just a side note on this, just because I have seen this trend very clearly, where influencers, they promote similar kind of products in back-to-back videos.
Yeah.
Right. Like for example, I see competitor one influencer plugin. The next video would be competitor 2. Right. So it is a very tricky situation, right? So have you faced this before?
Yeah, it does happen, but that's where you have to be, like I said, you have to spend, if you are doing an influencer collaboration, be very, very picky of who you work with. Make sure that the deal that you're running with them or the engagement that you have with them has some level of exclusivity, etc. And that keeps the other party also interested, and you kind of benefit from that, because otherwise, like you said, today they're doing a campaign for you and tomorrow they're doing another campaign for somebody else. So, and then your audience also does not resonate with that. Maybe some people might even shift over there. So that you have to make sure that does not happen. But interesting, there are some brands that are only built on influencer marketing. Like for example, there's a big brand in the UK called Gymshark, which does like gym apparel and clothing. That was entirely built out of influencer marketing. There's a brand in India called Cosmix Wellness that's a lot of plant protein, etc. Also built a lot around influencers, right? So they used to do a lot of these recipes with fitness influencers doing. So I like to read up on a lot of this. So these case studies will help you identify how they picked the right influencer strategy for their brand, and then kind of double down on that.
And
you can also kind of plug in influencer user generated content into your Amazon listings, into your D2C listings. So when somebody is searching for the listing and there's a video, this influencer is kind of playing it. So tag their social, etc. on it. So you kind of get the double benefit out of it.
Got it. Again, coming back to when you see, because there are a lot of bootstrap people in the audience, right? Reviews becomes extremely critical.
Correct.
Right. So how do you leverage that? Is it a VSL, UGR, like what to pick and how does it affect sales? Like how do you tackle this?
So again, category dependent. If it's a product that has a lot of innovation or a lot of involvement from the customer customer point of view, if it's something that the customer has to consume, then it becomes very important to have UGC. You can do, like I said, you can piggyback off your Amazon reviews when you're doing a D2C ad. Like make sure that you have that quality reviews coming out in your advertisements, and that's why people would want to buy you, because you're such a well-loved brand, right? And do a lot of that, and for the other thing, you have to figure out where your product is. Do a lot. For example, some of the review, Myntra has like a whole studio section now where people who are small-time influencers, or generally people can put up a picture and it'll show below your Myntra listing, right? So do that collab. That brings in a lot more engagement from a customer point of view. So that's like somebody sporting your T-shirt or your product, and talking about it, right? In toys, have settings where kids are actually playing with it or building something, right? In jewelry, also show people exactly how it will look like. So a lot of innovation is now happening in jewelry e-commerce, where people are trying to use augmented reality, etc., to see how it fits on you, because that's the biggest purchase driver. So I understand that, and that's how your reviews should be targeted.
Got it.
There are a lot of examples of it also, and a lot of brands now try to build communities which are very, very loyal to them. And like I gave an example of Cosmix. Cosmix has a very good community that people they interact with a lot. Damensch, we tried something called Damensch. Damensch was a community of people who are generally slow in life, in the sense with slow fashion, very relaxed, not agitated or worried about a lot of things. So that was something, that was a community that we leveraged, and that's the kind of content that we put out on our social. So as a brand, understand what your tonality is, who's the kind of customer that you're talking to, and then there are opportunities to build communities. Good examples of that is Royal Enfield has like a great community, right? And they do a lot of marketing around that. Now they've ventured into so many different products because of that community. And lot of such. I think Thar has a community of people who go off-roading a lot. So now they have apparel that is off-roading led, etc. So yeah, a lot of that is going to happen in the future. And Gymshark is one of the biggest examples in the world that have done that really, really well. If you are looking at Quick, then Quick only exists in tier 1 as of now, right? That's a simple answer to it. The other penetration is not good at all. Yeah.
So, I think the question very well played into the next segment, which is completely on quick commerce. We have got some 4-5 interesting questions on quick commerce and the hype around it, right? So, what is the kind of hype around quick commerce, and how different is this business model of quick commerce from the marketplaces which has been tried and tested for different D2C brands right now?
It's a very different model, honestly, because it is entirely built on convenience, right? Price is not the biggest factor, unlike on a marketplace where it is, because people look for price, people search for products, people browse products, people know that there's a lot of assortment there. Whereas a quick commerce store cannot have that because of the way the business operates. It's a dark store that can only have a certain number of products, which means you will probably not be able to list your whole assortment over there. They'll be very picky on what you can keep. So a good example of that is recently, and non-food I'm talking about, is recently when Blinkit did fans, or quick commerce did fans. They only kept like the top 2-3 sellers in the market, and which was Bajaj or Usha, and then they did one digital first brand, which was Atomberg. So the model is built heavily on convenience, and now it's habit. It's like Uber. When Uber came in, people did not have a habit of like booking a taxi on the phone, right? They used to still take, if you're in Bombay, you'll take a Kali Pili, you get into a rickshaw and go, and Bangalore you would fight with the auto and still get in, and things like that. But it's like now it's a habit. When commerce came into India, a lot of people were very skeptical. I think people said it won't work. 10-minute delivery is just not making sense. Business-wise, also unit economics does not make sense. But now it does, because a lot of more categories involved. And the higher the AOV, that's when it starts making a lot more sense. So that's how the model is different. For you to also operate, it's different because it's a model where the quick commerce player will take a certain inventory from you and place it in certain dark stores. Unlike on Amazon, where you can choose where you want to place it, right? So that's how it's technically different.
Got it. And so how do you get started? Like how do you get yourself listed on a quick commerce site?
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's not very democratic. in the sense anybody can today create a seller account on Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, etc., and list their products, and just with Amazon is the easiest, but other platforms also with some approvals you can do it. Quick commerce, you will really have to build a case around why a certain product will do well. So pick examples of what products are doing really, really well. Show why your product will do better than that. Why do you think your product will do better than that? Reach out and try to influence category managers in all of these marketplaces. Talk to them a lot. Write to them. Show them your deck. Go to their office like multiple times. Sit in. Today also, even after YogaBar being a decent kind of brand for them, if we want to list a new product, that's a big challenge. Okay. You have to negotiate a lot because for them, it's at the end of the day, keeping something means removing something. It's not like they have unlimited space, so it's very difficult. It's a difficult place to kind of get in.
So basically, when you say negotiation, right, what is typically the negotiation points with quick commerce? We are going deep there because a new channel, there's a lot of interest there. So that's why taking...
Negotiating around everything on what is the price point that you want to offer it at, what is the kind of product that it is, why would it do different, why would it do better than anybody else, right? And what is the USP that you're offering? And are actually customers wanting it in 10 minutes or no, right? Yeah. So the apparel is now on quick commerce. Nobody thought that will do well, but it's doing like a decent sum for some brands.
Got it. Which pricing profile works very well in quick commerce? Because as you rightly pointed out, it is not about pricing, it is convenience, right? And we had a recent Mokabora Blinkit collaboration, which is like a premium luggage brand on quick commerce. iPhones are now getting sold on quick commerce. So what is that magic sauce? Like, what is the pricing profile? Do you need to go higher? Do you need to maintain parity? Do you need to go lower? Like, how does it work here?
See, earlier it was a low AOV kind of business model where you would typically have products that are impulse purchases and you run out of something in your kitchen and you want it immediately, so you would do that, right? Or you're cooking something, like I have phases of cooking something, ran out of cashews, so just ordered it and came in. So it was largely around 500, 600 kind of price point. But now things are evolving. We were only talking in the morning, right, like where somebody ordered, you ordered an iron from Blinkit because you're the one that you were using Kongtor. Things like that are also happening. But it's still evolving. It's not at that stage where you can say, okay, particular price point it works really, really well on quick commerce. Food, grocery does really, really well on quick commerce because it's need-based. But people have now started building their carts, baskets like they used to do on, like they do in a supermarket. They're now doing that on quick commerce because it's getting delivered in 10 minutes. So right now it's difficult to kind of pinpoint a certain price point that does really, really well. But it's more about how your product plays into the convenience in somebody's life is what really, really matters at this point.
Got it. Commerce. What next? What are the things you should take care of?
The only thing that really matters is your availability. Make sure that you're there in every dark store, at least 2 units, 4 units, 5 units of each of your SKU. Make sure that your availability is sorted in the top 5 cities your products are placed. And then there's an ads ecosystem that is evolving on these marketplaces very, very quickly. So invest in advertising initially to build, to show your products right up on top when somebody is searching. But the biggest factor is quick commerce, and the biggest case study of that is a brand called Go Zero, which has done like really remarkably well now because just by placing their inventory really, really well. Although it's a different innovative kind of product, but the win on quick commerce is availability.
So by availability, you mean you need to ensure that every dark store has that. Yeah. But the dark store is controlled by the category managers, right?
Yeah. So that's the cycle that you have to build. So let's say they pick up your product, they'll try to place it in the best dark stores which have demand for that category coming in. So run ads, build that momentum up. That's how the planning system works, right? The moment you are able to increase your daily run rate on products, they will start expanding you into other cities. So that's the lever to grow. So invest in ads initially, and you might have to burn a bit to do that. But once your run rate kind of picks up, then the system will automatically start getting more inventory in place in multiple other locations. Then that's how you build traction.
Got it. Then like at least in Amazon marketplaces I have a review system to know ki there is a review and all. But in quick commerce, like a dark store, it is completely dark. I don't know how my product is doing, how is my product getting reviewed, etc. So how do you tackle this?
Early, again, the system is evolving. Soon there will be reviews and ratings, etc. happening. Like for example, Big Basket now has reviews and ratings, a very robust ecosystem of reviews and ratings, right? And people are going through it, people are reading about it. I'm sure these quick commerce players will also slowly start getting into that, at least for some categories. But again, these are tried and tested products that people are buying because it's convenient to them. They know what exactly they want and they'll go and pick up, right? The browse behavior has only started now, unlike on Amazon where it is browse-led, where you're, search-led, where you're searching for something and really looking at what are the kind of options that are there. Earlier, quick commerce players had a very small assortment. Now is when they're expanding into other categories, so you're looking for things. But it's still very impulse-based, very convenience-based. For example, if Rakhi is coming now, so everybody's going all out on that. People want a Rakhi gift, they go and search and they buy it. So if you have that and you're placed everywhere, you naturally will show up and do well.
Got it. Now with this segment, it is more about timeless advice from you to the audience. First thing is, what are some few rule of thumb things that are at the top of your mind when you think about e-commerce?
Yeah, so I generally believe that first principles logic is what I follow. And right from the very beginning on, when I started doing e-commerce and understood what are the levers to do e-commerce, there are three things that are really important. One is the traffic, and traffic involves everything from where you get your traffic and what quality you get your traffic from. Second is your conversion rate. That is the metric to track in e-commerce everywhere. Now conversion is influenced by a ton of things like pricing, like availability, like delivery time, just how your listing looks like, etc. Spend a lot of time on that, and then your AOV, right? So what are the products, at what pricing are you offering it? Are you giving a bundle offer? Are you incentivizing people to buy more? So these are the core fundamentals of e-commerce, and that's where you need to play, right? Every innovation, every hack is what people call it. I don't like to call it that, but everything that happens is within these three fundamentals. So if you have an understanding of how you influence these three things, then I think you are on the right track, right? And the input is what matters the most. Revenue is an output function, which will happen if you fix these three things. So that's where you need to spend like a quality time and large amount of time as well.
Got it. And if someone is looking to scale their e-commerce business, what are the critical factors they should always be considering for sustainable growth?
Yeah, so once you are at a scale where you are looking to grow very rapidly, once you establish some kind of base customers for your brand, you need to understand the market dynamics much better. So involve a lot more with your category managers, involve a lot more with your account managers, do a lot more, spend a lot more time on understanding from Google, etc., or ChatGPT, etc., reading a lot more reports in the category that you're operating in to understand how big the market actually is in the online space. See where your customers are and identify what market share do you currently hold. And then from there, what is the market share that you're aspiring to be at, right? And then again, plug that aspiration back into the levers that I just spoke about. So that's how you can plan your revenue. That's how, and it is a learning. It's not saying, okay, I want to grow my conversion, let's say from 5 to 10% today. It won't happen overnight, right? There are several things you need to fix, and you focus on those inputs. And that 5 to 10% market share is also a learning of if that increment will take you to how much. 5 to 10% conversion will take you to how much market share is also a learning. So once you do this over a period of time, it will take you 3 months, 6 months, a year maybe, to figure out, okay, if my, we used to do things like, if I get one more positive review on my product, how much is my conversion going to increase, right? Or the reverse, if I get one negative, how much is my conversion going to decrease? What is that going to have an impact on my revenue? And what is that impact on my market share? So those are the kind of things that we used to look at. And that's only once you are at scale though. When you're starting out, you don't have that kind of information.
Absolutely. How can one review affect my bottom line is very difficult to track.
Correct. Initially, yes, but you will get a hang of it once you do that over a period of time. Okay. And see, one thing is, it is definitely a given that if there is a negative review, there is a drop in conversion, right? And a drop in conversion with the same traffic means that you're doing lesser revenue. As simple as that. So now you need to quantify that over a period of time. See how many negative reviews the product has got. see what was the run rate, and figure that out, debug that, and try to arrive at some logic and put a number to it.
So, this is more in terms of crisis management. Say your product launch failed or something that you did like in Prime Day underperformed.
Yeah.
What are the bare basics that you should go back to and how we should fix it?
Yeah, so one of the things that I tell everybody, including my team also, at Damensch, at YogaBar, etc., is that D2C is such an aggressive space that people kind of do experiments very, very quickly, and it's very agile, and you have to be agile. You have to do a lot of experiments to figure out what are the right things that are working for you. But what sometimes people miss is that when you're beginning an experiment, you don't document it very, very nicely, very, very, in a very articulate manner. You need to exactly write down what is it that you're trying to experiment with. And put down the levers that you think will move because of this experiment. Then do that experiment and do it quickly. Do it for a 3-day, 4-day kind of period. Do it, but document it so that once you have that library of 10, 100 experiments that you have run, then you know which one to pick when there is a crisis, right? So, for example, we had a whole, and we used to create feedback loops in a chart, etc., on what should we do if there is a negative review on a certain product, right? Like go and read that review, see which order it has come from, see which product it has come from. Where would that inventory have gone from? If I have multiple warehouses, which warehouse has that gone from? Like what is the operations process that is happening in that warehouse? Then if you have done that experiment once and you document it very, very well, and you know the result of what has happened, then you'll be able to debug that problem very quickly. So document and then experiment. Experiment fast, fail faster, it's okay. But document and then do it.
I think the last part is very curious because you said about tracing back the warehouse and everything.
Yeah.
So you have mixed marketing with core operations, supply chain operations.
Yeah, I think it has to work that way. All of in D2C you can't work independently, unlike in larger organizations where you can because the processes are so solid, right? A D2C, in this ecosystem, you are building processes every day. You're changing processes every day. Market is changing, evolving every day, right? Amazon changes, let's say, just one thing about how you list products, the entire process that you build will fail, right? If they start giving a 1-star review more weightage suddenly, then your overall reviews change. So that's the kind of impact any small change can have. And even on your website, if you just change a banner today, right, your CTRs could go from X to Y, and then you've kind of lost that day. And by the time you realize it, you already lost so much business. And that potential opportunity loss is something, if you're not measuring it, then you don't even know. So that's the biggest problem that you can end up being in. So be very, very number oriented and look at your first principles, right? The first principles are traffic conversion and AOV. Look at which of the metrics is getting impacted by what change, and measure it and document it very, very in a very descriptive and articulate manner.
Got it. Last question before we take the Q&A.
Yeah.
Say like you have just come to the office and there is one chart you want to see. Say in Damensch or YogaBar. What is that one chart, one metric you see and start your day?
That metric is revenue, as simple as that. Yeah. So in the beginning of the month, you would have a plan for the month. You would have a day-wise split. I've even gone to a level of an hour-wise split on what my revenue should look like on a particular day, and just keep tracking that, and then debug. If it's not working, debug. See what is broken. At top level, see if traffic is not there. See if conversion is broken. See if AOV is not what you had planned for, right? And then go back to each of the funnels that are leading up to this revenue to see what is breaking, or the other way around, what is working extremely well. You need to replicate that. You need to double down on that. So revenue is the North Star that I look at. Everything else is, like I said, an input, and the output metric is revenue.
I'm curious about revenue because there is also this thing about spends, right? Like what is the revenue over the denominator of spends?
Correct.
Right?
That's the second thing that I would look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should have made top 3 things. I think the answer would have been complete.
Yeah, and you look at it together, which you are absolutely right. So you look at revenue, you look at your spends to revenue percentage. So how much money are you spending to do a 100 rupee sale, right? And you would have a benchmark of that because that is what will lead to your bottom line. Do that, and if you want to talk about like an overall dashboard that I look at, I'll look at like 4 things, 4-5 things, which is one is revenue, one is my spends percentage on revenue. I would also look at my discount percentage, how much discount am I giving. Then I look at my out of stock or in stock percentage on how many of my products are in stock versus how many of my products are not there. and then once you know this, then you can figure out your conversion. See, some of the biggest enablers in D2C would be somebody like a UniCommerce, who's like solved the entire warehouse management system for a D2C brand. Right? You can plug in any marketplace or anywhere that you're selling into your warehouse management and then operate very, very efficiently. Then on D2C, there are like so many enablers there, and a D2C brand has to be using like so many tools to be able to get the best out of it. Like something like a Clever Tap or a Klaviyo on your website will give you so much insights. Like something like a More Engage will give you so many insights on retention, etc. So there are tools for almost everything that exists, and people, it's just about figuring out what is a tool that will work for you, right? And in terms of the pain points that still people have, it is very, very brand or website dependent. On a large scale, there aren't any things that everybody faces because the industry is so evolved now. Unlike earlier, where there was a problem or to figure out your warehousing or or people used to, like, the largest pain point was delivering faster. But now there's ShipRocket which solves that for you because it's able to plug in that for you. But I think one of the things that still people face is how do you manage your inventory better, because that is a working capital cost for any company. That's the largest cost that can be. Right? How do you make sure that you're optimizing at a very, very deep level so that you don't end up having an opportunity loss because you're out of stock, or having, let's say, too much inventory and then just paying through the roof for it. So I would say that could be one of the problems that people are still facing. There is no single way to put this out, right? It depends on the brand, the product, everything that you're trying to do, and who is your TG also. So there's no, like, I can't answer it, rate it in a way that is applicable to everybody out there. But if you ask me, like category specific, it could be, it also depends on the objective that you're trying to drive from the customer that's on your website. So if your objective is to do more with a single customer, then a coupons and a cart value coupon becomes the most important thing, or a cross-selling, upselling becomes the second most important thing, right? Reviews on a cart page, maybe not. Maybe that has to be at the when a customer is trying to engage with your product on the product detail page, right? Delivery time also should be on your delivery on your product detail page, because that is one of the largest influencers of a purchase decision in this space. See, you need to tackle it the other way. I mean, there are two ways to fix it. One is that you fix the problem of actually people not returning, but then that's a different problem that you as a business cannot fix because you depend on somebody else to deliver it. So you should fix the problem of having so many COD orders. So think of what you can do to reduce your COD, right? Offer a prepaid discount. So bring that percentage to a place where your business makes sense, like have 70-30 or 80-20, and do things like a BNPL can solve a lot of it for you, right? Like a buy now pay later kind of solution can solve a lot of a buy now pay later, like something like buy now lazy pay, or one of those things will reduce your COD by a lot. So focus on that problem, and the other problem is something you also need to see which are the pin codes that are having this problem. If it's a repeat, then maybe change your service provider or stop shipping to that pin code for a while if you don't get a lot of other orders from that, and put it, like, take it off from the list of pin codes that you're servicing. If it is not a very big chunk of your business and you are anyway bleeding because it's getting returned. I think reading reviews is one important place where AI can help, because when I as a customer, or I as a business, or running a business, read a review, I am looking at from what the customer is saying and doing all of that. But I've used some AI tools to tell me exactly what the customer searched for when they were buying a product from the reviews, because people write a lot about, okay, I was looking for this and I ended up buying this and it became so interesting, so much innovation. A lot of people write very, very descriptive reviews sometimes. So those kind of insights, if you have the right prompts, I think you can figure out very, very well. One other thing that AI can help is this whole analysis of why sales dropped, maybe, right, on a particular day. So what are the things that were all of your metrics that are going at a certain pace on average, what dropped and what led to a certain sales drop. But that's the biggest thing that we face with every day. So I think AI will be able to do it a lot better. Inventory forecasting and optimization, I think AI will be able to solve quite a bit. Will get accurate. Although there are, like, I've experimented this with multiple tools, and because of the nuances a certain category of business has, there is no like single solution that can help you out with everything. So I think that's where, because it's not flexible, right? There are some rules that you're right and that will follow, and some exceptions can't be created, but I think AI can solve for that. Yeah, so a lot of product innovations have happened because we've read certain reviews and identified what people search for. A certain color or a certain kind of fabric feel, a certain kind of feel of taste, etc. That doesn't come out when you're normally reading a review, right? It's hidden somewhere, and there's, like, obviously also because there's like a ton of reviews that you can't read everything, like 2,000 or 5,000 reviews, you just can't end up spending a lot of time reading that. So just concise way of getting that somewhere, and ask, like, pinpoint. I wanted to understand if the taste of my products is still the same as it was 6 months ago, right? So those kind of things. See, density is again an input that will increase my revenue overall, right? So I look at it that way. So if I am plugging in, let's say I'm taking a growth on my revenue in the next quarter, then that is one of the inputs that I'll plug into it, and that will definitely be available in more locations next quarter. That's what will drive my revenue up. So that's the way to look at it, and that's ultimately what, if I'm increasing my distribution, what is it going to impact? It's going to impact my revenue only, right? It's going to impact my reach and then my revenue. So that's the way we look at it.
Cool. I think we will stop here and let us give Shantanu a round of thanks for the fantastic insights.
Thanks a lot.